Alright guys, so you're pale as hell and you want to get a tan, but you don't want to take MD2 because of the horrible side effects, and you don't want to use fake tan. You obviously want to get a natural tan. So I'm going to show you guys how I got my natural tan. This was me at the end of last summer, and this is me in the middle of summer of 2026. So I was pale here. I always would burn, and I would never tan. Like, my burns would never turn to tan. I would just instantly peel, which is really bad. But here, I tan quite easily. I don't burn as often. If I do get any burn from me overdoing sun or whatever, it just turns straight into tan. One reason for this is because I switched up my fat profile in my diet. So I'm not consuming as much polyunsaturated fats. I cut out all extracted fats, all seed oils, all extracted plant oils. This is because PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids, are unstable, okay? And they're highly reactive. So there's gonna be a lot of reactions that are catalyzed when it touches the sun. So when the fat in your skin comes into contact with the sun, there's going to be a lot of reactions that are catalyzed, okay, which is not good. They're very prone to oxidation and lipid peroxidation, okay? So these lipid peroxides that's going to be created are going to attack DNA, they're going to attack your mitochondria, they're going to cause a lot of oxidative stress, okay? This is not good at all. This is one reason people burn, this is one reason people develop melanoma easily. But on the contrary, when you have saturated fats, this creates stable membranes, okay, which aren't reactive. They're not prone to oxidation, okay? They protect your skin cells from UV damage. Next thing we're gonna do is gradual exposure. And this is because obviously if you're pale as hell and you go out into like 15 UV, you're not gonna be doing yourself a favor, okay? You're just gonna be burning the shit out of your skin, damaging the shit out of your skin. This is because you're gonna be creating a lot of ROS, which are gonna attack DNA, a lot of lipid peroxides too. ROS, lipid peroxides, these are gonna attack DNA, cause DNA damage, attack your mitochondria, attack your skin cells, everything, okay? Attack the proteins in your skin. This is what leads to melanoma, okay? And a lot of burning. So we wanna start with UV 3 to 5. This is gonna be like early spring, early morning or late afternoon in the summer. This is very handy because you get low UV, but still UV, so you can slowly develop melanin in your skin so that you can be protected to it, slowly adapt to it without risking burning. And at the same time, it's very high in red light, so you're going to get a lot of those benefits like I'll talk about later. And then you want to move up to UV 6 to 8. Okay, this is going to be like mid-spring to early summer, depends where you live. All right, and this is where most people start to burn. Then UV 911, this is going to be like Florida, LA summer. Okay, this is where most people burn in like 10 minutes without sunscreen. It's really bad, and you'll start to get a little bit of a tan here. And then UV 12 to 14 is where you're really gonna start turning brown. This is gonna be like only Australian, African, South American summer. And you're likely to still burn if you're of the same ethnicity as me, okay? Just because you're not genetically adapted to that environment. And then red light is very, very valuable for this, for developing a tan and becoming adapted and becoming protected from the UV, because red light is going to increase mitochondrial function. Red and infrared light are absorbed into the mitochondria by an enzyme in the mitochondria called cytochrome C oxidase, okay? And this is going to improve the mitochondrial redox state, improve ATP production, make it more efficient, and prevent electron leakage. So it improves the electron flow on the electron transport chain to produce energy. It's also going to upregulate your antioxidant production, okay? So it's going to combat a lot of the ROS, help combat ROS from the UV, all right? It's going to increase collagen and elastin production in the skin. So it's going to thicken the skin, okay, and make it more protected, make it stronger. And it's also going to develop more urochronic acid in the skin, which literally shields you from the UV. It absorbs the UV light. So the more of this you build up, the more protected you'll be against UV light. And lastly, you have to stay perfectly hydrated. Dehydrated cells, they burn faster and they peel a lot easier, because when you have cells that are dehydrated, this concentrates the UV energy because there's no ventilation. And this is controlled by your electrolyte balance as well as the osmotic gradient between your cells and the extracellular. So you can see here, this is a hypertonic cell, a blood cell, and this occurs when you have too much of sodium. Sodium brings water out of the cells, okay? And potassium brings them into the cell. So when you don't have a good sodium to potassium balance, you have too much sodium compared to potassium, all of that water is going to get drawn out, okay? And this is what it leads to, hypertonic cells, all right, dehydrated cells. If you're have a good balance, you have isotonic cells because the right amount of water is going to get pulled out and the right amount of water is going to go in, with sodium and potassium entering and exiting the cells. If you have too much potassium or too little sodium, they're going to be hypotonic. So they're going to swell and burst, right? We don't want hypertonic and we don't want hypotonic. We want isotonic. And for this, you want to maintain a sodium to potassium balance where sodium is lower by 2 to 5 times. So sodium to potassium ratio will be 1 to 2 to 1 to 5. That is what you get from natural foods and natural hydration sources. So from raw milk, this is what you get. From natural spring water, this is what you get. And another thing that's important is to consume lots of raw fats, because these are what help your cells to produce their own water, okay? So your cells produce their own water. When they produce it from fat, 100 grams of fat allows your metabolism to create 108 grams of water, okay? So you're producing more water than you're consuming fat. From consuming fat, considering your metabolism and mitochondria are healthy. But in comparison, when you eat carbs, it's only about 30 grams of water per 100 grams of carbs, okay? So it's not as efficient at all. It's also going to be at around 150 parts million deuterium instead of 130, which is what it would be in fat, which is what's optimal. Having carbs and producing water from carbs is going to accumulate deuterium in your cells and your mitochondria, which is going to slow this whole process down, okay? Slow all of the metabolism down. So we want to rely off natural foods for our hydration, for our minerals, like oysters, like raw milk, like mineral water, like organs, like muscle meat, anything raw basically has the right minerals, okay? And we want to avoid salt because this is going to disrupt this balance from how it's supposed to be. So that's everything you need to tan. Hope it goes well, guys. Let me know how it goes. Post some results of you tanning, keep track of it. And I hope to see everyone tan. Let's go.